Goodrick!
Let's keep it going for everyone you've heard tonight. Aren't they great? So, my mom's pretty bad at technology. She hasn't felt comfortable operating the television since we've had more than one remote. But she's kind of at that age where she doesn't really care anymore. Like, she can't figure out how to check her text messages, so she just says her phone doesn't get them. She does do email, though, but unfortunately she forwards everything like it's her job. It's the only reason I know if Donald Duck were a real person, he'd be 81 years old. Now, a lot of these emails that I get from my mom, they're about generational politics. My mom's a retired baby boomer, and she's really worried she's not getting hers. My mom's a boomer. She's getting hers, she's getting yours, she's getting everyone's. If baby boomers were a board game, they'd be Hungry Hungry Hippos. So I get this one forward from my mom, and it says that if you took a recently retired boomer who was earning an average Canadian salary of 42 grand a year, and you calculated what they were paying into CPP, and you just multiplied that over the whole career, the government was screwing them out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I read this email and thought, that's not how math works. If you were earning 40 grand in the 1960s, there's a name for you, Don Draper. So I've decided I've had enough of this boomer bullshit, and I am going to write an email checking my mom's math. And I'm including StatsCan salary data. I've got decades worth of CPP contribution rates. Footnotes. I've got footnotes in this email. An hour and a half angrily working away on this email, and I go ahead and hit delete. Because you can't send that email to your mom. So instead, I forward her a quiz on how to figure out what kind of Disney princess she is. I was a nerd growing up, but nerd culture is so mainstream these days, it really pisses me off. I feel like nobody has to suffer for it. Like, the cool kids would make fun of me for reading really mature science fiction and fantasy books, like The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. And then they grew up in their 20s and 30s and started reading Harry Potter, and they were like, these books are so good! And I was like, yeah, for 9-year-olds! Or I was worried that people would find out I'd spend my entire weekend DMing an epic game of Dungeons and Dragons. And now Game of Thrones is the most popular show on television. Alternative girls back in the day who would date nerds, they used to go to Lilith Fair wearing long flowing skirts and Doc Martens. Now they're going to Comic-Con with Laura Croft boobs and Harley Quinn skirts. Me, I was an OG nerd. I used to skip elementary school so I could read, son. Nerds today, they don't even have to go to the library. They've got Wikipedia in their pocket. They're playing virtual reality and Xbox. I played Zaxxon on a monochrome Apple IIc. Do you guys even know what Zaxxon is? No, because you're not real nerds. Is anybody else disappointing their family with their career choices? Yeah. So my dad was pretty bummed out when I told him I was never going to be a butcher and I was not going to take over the family butcher store. Me, I've always loved telecom policy. I wrote my honors thesis. It's true. I wrote my honors thesis on information communication technologies' impact on democracy. The only bacon I was going to specialize in is brunch. So I went to grad school, learned how to make rules for cell phone companies, but when it came time for me to apply for jobs with the government, my fiance said, I don't care about your dream job. We're not moving to Ottawa, it's cold. So I got a job with Rogers. And let me tell you, my days now are just full of PowerPoint and spreadsheets and attending galas with ex-prime ministers, cheap HBO. Working for the man's not that bad. In fact, I really like my job. I get to geek out about telecom policy every day, and it turns out I'm really, really good at using the rules to screw over other cell phone companies. My dad, he's proud that I went my own way, followed my own dreams. In fact, now the only bad thing about my career choices. But that's mostly because she works for TELUS. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a fairly generic but highly curated look. Beard, black plastic glasses. I wear a lot of plaid, a lot of cardigans. You might call it a business Mumford & Sons. Like, you might hire us to play banjo at the annual shareholder meeting, or HR might get us to deliver the workshop on sexual harassment in the workplace. Because we're so non-threatening? We might do a music video reminding people to put the new cover letter on the TPS reports. Now, there are some drawbacks to having a look like this. My friends can never find me at concerts in a sea of beards and bald spots. I'm known at the office as bow tie guy, even though I wore a bow tie one fucking time. And it is really hard to argue that you are not a hipster while you're attending an underground hip-hop show above a Mexican restaurant with a handlebar mustache for Movember. I've recently decided to kick things up a notch, though, and I've started using beard oil. I really feel like the luxurious sheen and woodsy smell makes me feel masculine and virile, like a lumberjack. Of course, knowing that it's a hint of lime underneath the cedar and rosewood that gives the smell that pop makes me feel a little bit like bow tie guy. Also a little concerned, I saw some people with beards here tonight. The first rule of being a lumbersexual is you do not talk about beard oil. And the second rule is you do not talk about beard oil. I hope they don't stick me in a locker after second period math. That's my time. Thanks, everybody.